I cut off my best friend out of my wedding because she kept making jokes about my fiancé. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to cut off my best friend over a wedding. I used to roll my eyes at stories like that. People falling out over flower colors, seating charts, or bridesmaid dresses. But this wasn't about any of that. It was about respect. Or really, the lack of it. I've known Mia since we were 15. We met in high school detention, both there for talking back to a teacher, and somehow bonded over our shared hatred of authority. She was the bold one, always loud, always funny. Everyone loved her. I was quieter, more of the keep things together type. She once called me the mom friend, and she wasn't wrong. We stayed close through college and into our late 20s. She was the kind of person who could make a room light up. But she also had this edge. Like she'd go for the joke even when it crossed a line. That was just Mia being Mia. Everyone excused it. I did too for years. When I met Ethan, my now fiancé, Mia was one of the first people I introduced him to. She showed up late to our group dinner and instantly made some snarky comment about how Ethan looks exactly like the guy who'd have a podcast about investing and never shut up about crypto. Everyone laughed. Including Ethan, to be fair. He has thick skin and he brushed it off easily. But even then, I remember feeling a little uncomfortable. Like, why was that her opening line? Over time, it became kind of a pattern. Every time we all hung out, Mia would find a way to poke fun at him. Nothing that could be called full-blown mean, but enough to sting. She'd call him Mr. Perfect in this sarcastic tone whenever he did something thoughtful. If he mentioned work, he's in finance, she'd joke about him being a walking LinkedIn post. I tried to laugh it off, to tell myself she was just teasing. But it started getting harder to ignore. Then came the night everything shifted. We were at a friend's birthday dinner. One of those big loud gatherings where everyone's drinking and telling stories. Ethan was sitting beside me chatting with another friend about how we met. He told the story, how he'd spilled coffee all over himself trying to impress me on our first date, and everyone laughed. Then Mia leaned over and said, "Yeah, we know. You've told that story like 50 times. We get it. You're obsessed with her. Honestly, it's kind of cute but also kind of pathetic." The table went silent for a second. It wasn't playful. It had this sharp undertone, like she meant it. Ethan tried to brush it off again, but I could tell he was embarrassed. His smile faltered and he excused himself to go to the bathroom a few minutes later. When he came back, the energy between us felt weird. That was the first time I really got mad. I didn't say anything then, but on the drive home I told him I was sorry. He just shrugged it off, said he didn't want to make things awkward and told me it was fine. But it wasn't fine for me. I texted Mia the next day, just a simple, "Hey, maybe ease up a little on the jokes about Ethan? I know you mean well, but it's getting a bit much." Her reply came fast. "Oh, come on, you know I'm just joking. He's fine. He needs to lighten up." That was her go-to defense every time. "I'm just joking." Like that magical phrase erased any harm. I dropped it after that, but I started seeing her differently. A few months later, Ethan proposed. It was perfect, quiet, private, just us. I was over the moon. I called Mia right after my parents. She screamed over the phone, all excited, and asked for every detail. Then she said, "Wow, I can't believe you're marrying Mr. Spreadsheet. Hope he doesn't make you schedule your honeymoon on Excel." I laughed because that's what I always did when I didn't know how else to respond. But inside something sank a little. When I asked her to be my maid of honor, she teared up. She hugged me so tight and promised to make the wedding the best day of my life. For a while it actually felt like things were good again. She helped with the dress shopping, gave opinions, loud ones, even organized the bridal shower. But as the planning went on, the little comments came back. At the cake tasting, she joked that Ethan would probably want a financially responsible flavor. When I was picking a venue, she said he'd probably prefer a conference room. At my bridal shower, in front of everyone, she made a toast that started sweet and ended with, "I just hope Ethan remembers she's marrying him for love, not for his Excel skills." The room went awkwardly quiet for a moment before everyone laughed nervously. My mom gave me a look. Ethan, who'd been recording on his phone, stopped mid-laugh. Afterward, he told me it didn't bother him, but I could tell it did. And I was tired of being the one making excuses for her. A week later, Mia and I were finalizing bridesmaid dresses. She came over with takeout and wine, and we were having a pretty normal evening until the topic of Ethan came up again. She was scrolling through photos of us on her phone and she just blurted, "You know, I still don't get what you see in him. He's nice, sure, but he's so boring." That word, boring, hit a nerve. I asked what she meant. She smirked and said, I don't know, he's just plain. You used to go for guys with personality. Now you're marrying someone who probably irons his socks. I just stared at her. The casual cruelty in her voice stunned me. I told her she didn't have to like Ethan, but she did need to respect him, and me. She rolled her eyes and said I was being dramatic. That was it. Something in me just broke. I told her maybe she shouldn't come to the wedding if she couldn't keep her mouth shut. She laughed, thinking I was bluffing. When she realized I wasn't, she got defensive. Said I was throwing away years of friendship over a joke. It wasn't a joke anymore. It hadn't been for a long time. I told her I loved her, but I couldn't have someone standing next to me on my wedding day who thought so little of the person I was marrying. She left angry, slamming my door on her way out. The next day she posted a long, cryptic message on Instagram about fake friends who can't handle honesty. Mutual friends started messaging me asking what happened. I didn't respond. I was too drained. For a few weeks there was silence. Then I got an email, of all things, from her mom. She said Mia was heartbroken and didn't understand why I'd cut her out. That friends should forgive each other. I thought about it. I really did. There was a part of me that missed her so much it physically hurt. We'd been through everything together. Breakups, deaths, moving apartments, all of it. She was my person for so long. But I couldn't shake the feeling that she didn't respect me anymore. That, in her mind, I was still the quiet friend she could push around for a laugh. The wedding came. It was small, simple, and perfect. My best friend from college ended up stepping in as maid of honor, and she was incredible. Supportive, kind, never once made it about herself. I didn't expect to think about Mia that day, but I did. When I was getting ready, there was this quiet moment where I looked at the empty space where she should have been helping me with my dress, and my throat tightened. I missed her laugh. I missed the version of her who loved me without the need to tear anyone else down. But when I saw Ethan waiting for me at the altar, nervous, smiling, eyes full of love, I knew I'd made the right call. There was no way I was letting someone's bitterness shadow that moment. A few weeks after the honeymoon, I ran into Mia at the grocery store. She looked surprised to see me. We made awkward small talk for a minute and then she asked, "So, how was the big day?" I told her it was perfect. She smiled, tight and polite. Then she said, "I'm glad. I hope he makes you happy." I almost said, "He does." But the look in her eyes stopped me. It wasn't malicious. It was sad. Like she finally realized she'd gone too far and couldn't take it back. She apologized, not for the jokes, not for the wedding, but for everything. It wasn't detailed, but it felt genuine. I told her I forgave her, but things couldn't go back to how they were. She nodded and said she understood. We haven't spoken much since then. Every now and then she likes my posts or sends a birthday text. It's civil, but the friendship is gone. I think we both know that. I used to feel guilty about it, wondering if I'd overreacted. But the more I think about it, the more I realize that friendship shouldn't feel like constantly defending the people you love from each other. I gave Mia years of grace. I laughed at jokes that made me uncomfortable because I didn't want to seem uptight. I brushed off comments that made me flinch because that's just how she is. But when it came down to it, she didn't respect me enough to stop, even when I asked her to. So no, I don't regret cutting her out. It wasn't about the wedding. It was about finally choosing peace over performance. And if that makes me the bad guy in her story, I can live with that.